I feel funky.
Then dance a monkey.
Are we in session?
Is that your question?
Who wrote this word bog?
Warner Hedgehog.
What's the story?
Hoganory. Why, hello, my little dubious darling Muscovy ducks. I am Warner Hedgehog's considerably improved, yet still very low budget avatar, and I bid you welcome to the wonderful thing that is Hoganory, and its equally improved yet equally low budget set. If you have your ears nailed on, then I will now tell you a tale, a wondrous little piece that I adore, having the chance to call Chosen to Choose Your Own Choice. Our story begins in the land of Condementia. Let your mind's eye see a grotty black and white map lit by a flickering candle. Look at the state of it. It's on parchment. It's as grubby as you like. But if you study it with great care and the eye of a connoisseur of the weird and the fantastical, then you can see hints of magic and wonder. Now, in a manner worthy of a big budget fantasy movie, let us zoom in to some point in the middle. Wonder as the map goes all 3D and colourful as we find ourselves flying through the landscape. Marvel as we go winging our way through treetops past flocks of irritated birds. Finally we come across a hint of civilization as we enter a quaint little market town called Marmite on the Toast. It would seem that although this lovely little town was as picturesque and as idyllic as such towns could be, it was also a haven for an absolute gaggle of weirdos and loons. One such loon was a daft little nerd called Tasty Flavour. Tasty was given the flights of fancy, and his latest ironclad belief was odder than normal. He will shortly become convinced that he is the chosen one. The concept of the chosen one, an elderly overused trope that is handed about the world of storytelling like a well-worn town bike. A prophecy to be fulfilled? There has to be a chosen one to do it. It's always some poor, downtrodden, vaguely mysterious child who will wield a magical sword and rid the world of a specific evil. The wonder of it all. Oh well, back to the gibberish. Where was I? Oh yes, in Egypt trying to read. One day, Tasty was sat in the local library looking for something to give his drab little life some meaning when he came upon a book by Grussel Rant, a collector of ancient wisdom. The book was full of the words of long-dead seekers of knowledge, and along with those words there was a prophecy. According to Rant, the prophecy came from scholar and venerated wise person Grilla Cheekin, and it told of a chosen one who would become known as the flavour of Marmite, who would arise to become the greatest figure in the land of Condementia, who would be anointed by the actual melted Pope of hot fondue. The one that was chosen would wield a magical weapon called Shiny Steve, the toothpick of ultimate truthfulness, and would destroy the scumminess that covered the land in its loathsome filth. Yes, they'd probably completely be physically destroyed in the process, but hey, fame ain't all it's cracked up to be. Maybe there'd be a shiny statue or something. Choosing to ignore most of the chapter. After all, who cares about important little things like how would the chosen one be actually recognised? Are the high priests likely to be hostile to impostors? Will there be difficult and dangerous tests? Or even, will being the chosen one be nasty and hazardous? Tasty skipped straight to the end to find out where to go to announce himself as the person that they had been seeking. As he hunted quickly through the expansive text, he finally spotted the answer he sought. The officials in charge of this particular prophecy were the high priests of Chips and Dips, and their main temple was on the other side of the main road, up a mere 150 steps. With all the haste of a moron on a stupid mission, he slammed the book back into the shelf, damaging it in the process, and hurried out of the library. It was now or never, he thought to himself, as he reached the bottom of the steps. It was then that he actually noticed the enormously vast quantity of them. There were a ridiculously large number of them in his pillock brain. The very sight of such a physical challenge might have put him off, if it were not for the very insistent voice in his head that shouted, "You are Tasty Flavour. You are the flavour of Marmite on the toast. This is your day." So Tasty Flavour took a deep breath and started his epic climb to fame and chosenness. As Tasty reached the top of the steps, he was accosted by a pair of very big butter-knife-wielding acolytes, who both greeted him with their traditional cry of, "That's far enough, chummy." Tasty tried to convince the acolytes that he was the chosen one, but for some reason they were not convinced until he used his trump card, his name. The two hulking goons reluctantly agreed that being called Tasty Flavour did indeed point towards him being the flavour of Marmite, and called for another pair of massive henchmen to frog march or possibly drag him to the priests. He was semi-dragged into a large chamber somewhere in the middle of the temple and thrown to the floor, in front of a woman wearing a somewhat fancy robe decorated with stylized leeks and a hat in the shape of a tandoori oven. The high priest introduced herself as the most reverend-ish shrimp on the barbie, and it was important that Tasty knew that she was the one at the top of the pile, and the one who said what went on in this manor, and if he put a foot wrong, then that foot may well go missing. When one of the acolytes told her of the interloping idiot's convictions, as well as the name of the twit on the floor, she told Tasty to stand. She told him how he was definitely not the person they had sought, and how he was certainly not the chosen one. She told him of how the chosen one had already been discovered, and was over there, pointing at a girl sat in a rocking chair, wearing a shiny pink shell suit. She told him of the fact that the girl was his cousin, Scrummy Flavour, and how she was the true chosen one. Upon learning this truth, Tasty flew into ridiculous camp rage, yelling things like, "She can't be, and I'm Tasty Flavour himself, and how dare you choose her over me, I'm the biggest lettuce in the land." He wailed that he had to be the flavour of Marmite, as the voices in his head had chosen him out of thousands, as all the others were too flat. But the high priest was unswayed by his pointlessly over-the-top fervour, asking if the young twirl-up had actually bothered to read the whole and full actual prophecy. If he hadn't skipped the main body of the thing, and instead had cast his eyes upon it, then he would have known that the chosen one would be revealed when they tripped over a mysteriously out-of-place large wheel of brie in the middle of the cheeseless zone, which is exactly what Scrummy Flavour had done. And if he'd carried on using any common sense, then he would have found out about the test of the whirring cucumber, which Scrummy had passed with flying colours, as well as the trial of the ring of battered onions, which he had knocked clean out the park. It is apparently traditional that these challenges of the chosen one must always come in threes, so Scrummy had to face the trial of the superheated fast food fish pie, which was something that no sane individual would willingly do on their own. So Tasty was sent away with a flea in his ear, as that was how this high priest rolled. She could have had him chucked into the sweet, sweet pile of treacle, or subjected him to a barrage of horrid gruel and lumpy rice cakes, but she decided to have an irritating parasite shoved into him, and then have him literally kicked out of their nice, clean place of worship. As he rapidly descended the steep slope of undignified exit, down which all unwelcome visitors to the temple eventually got thrown, he reflected upon his recent religious experience, but not much, as thinking wasn't really his thing, the steaming great pudding. If there's a lesson to be learned here, it's you can't choose to be chosen, but you can choose to be a fruitcake, which is an important lesson to learn. That's all for today. Good night, folks. Until next time, don't shag nightmares.